Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everyone. My name is Nate. I also go by Hockey Boy Nate. And today we're going to be discussing the overall outlook of what the weather is going to look like over the next week, the potential for some severe weather, a sleeper event that could be happening, that could occur in the middle part of the week, as well as some cooler temperatures across the board here in the United States. But before we get started, two things. First off, the shameless plug version. Please be sure to leave a like on the video, subscribe, turn on notifications, share this with friends and family and on social media. Also follow me on social media. All of the links to that are in the description down below. Also, I do want to apologize for not uploading a video yesterday, as well as being really late today. I'm still trying to recover from my 14-hour live stream to where I streamed from 4 o'clock in the afternoon and covered the 40 severe thunderstorm warnings, and then waking up at or going to sleep at 6 o'clock in the morning after covering all those tornado warnings and different rotations all the way throughout the overnight hours. So my sleep schedule is a bit wonky. I'm going to be trying to fix that. Hopefully our schedule will be fixed by tomorrow morning, so we'll have another video that'll be early in the morning, and then you guys will have a good start to your all's day. So hopefully we'll get that done. Also, I do want to go over the event really briefly, just to, inform you all as to how many reports we had. The filtered reports, which takes into account to just specific events. The unfiltered, it could be repeated multiple times. So that's the difference between filtered and unfiltered. So according to the Storm Prediction Center, we had a total of 329 severe reports, including 5 tornado reports, which all occurred overnight, 138 wind reports, and 2 significant wind reports. Most of those also occurred overnight, which is what we warned people about. We also had, this was really surprising to most people, in the beginning of the live stream, we had 187 hail reports. 27 of those were really significant, over 2 inches. So this was a very widespread event. This all accumulated, as I said, to a total of 329 severe weather reports. That is very significant. That was a very significant severe weather outbreak. And yeah, this was... it's still mind-blowing to me this day that all of that occurred over the span of a half a day, maybe a little bit longer, but still wanted to go over that with you all. Alright, so there's an enhanced risk today, but the only thing about it is that it's already occurring right now. But for those of you who didn't know, there's a 30% chance for winds. 30 is indicated in the red. The 15 is indicated in the yellow. The brown is indicated in the 5. You also have your marginal, which extends into the mid-Atlantic, so people in DC, as well as near Wilmington, and the Delmarva Peninsula. You guys could experience some severe weather here today in the afternoon hours. Your chances for hail are the same across the board here. Your 5% chance for hail. By the way, I wasn't really clear as to what the 30% chance means for wind, so I'll tell you guys here right now. Whatever probability you have that chance of getting winds over 58 miles per hour. So just within those areas, you guys have that probability. So specifically Tampa, St. Petersburg, Orlando, Port St. Lucie, and Clearwater, you guys could see some very strong wind gusts within your areas. And then people in the 15% include Miami, Fort Lauderdale, and Hollywood. So basically most of the areas in southern Florida, you guys can get some very strong severe wind gusts, but not as high of a probability as your counterparts to the north. And then your 5%, which we won't mention because it's pretty widespread and it's very small chance for severe weather. And then you also have your 2% chance for tornadoes, but I've been monitoring it. It's more or less a straight line gusty wind threat that will happen, but you can't rule out the chance for a spin up within the line that'll move on through. So we'll have to continue to watch it for the most part. But if we take a look at the Storm Prediction Center here, after this enhanced risk, and I'll actually zoom in here for you all, it says no severe according to the Storm Prediction Center for the next couple of days. So we might get a little bit of a break. I mentioned earlier towards the end of March that we're currently in a pattern to where we get severe weather and then we take like 3 or 4 days off. Then we get another round of severe weather and then we take 3 or 4 days off. So most people are going to be like, oh, we're going to start getting into an active pattern. You know, we haven't been in that active pattern since the beginning to the middle parts of March. So right now we're kind of in a sub-active pattern to where, you know, some areas still get severe weather, but for the most part, places in the plains and the Midwest and the northern plains, you guys most likely won't be seeing that severe weather until the end of April into the May time frame. So that's just the one thing that I've been noticing, and I'll show you guys what I mean and, you know, why I think we are in a subactive pattern and why we've been in a subactive pattern for the past 2 weeks. So let's get into the models, and I want to talk about 2 things here real quickly. This is a sleeper event that could be unfolding right in front of us. There's actually, that's not what I meant to do. There's actually a potential for some severe weather on Wednesday. And the models haven't been picking this up until one model, which is a short-range model, or a mid-range model, if you will, that has just been recently picking this up. And that one is the NAM, so we'll take a look at what the NAM has to offer here. But this is something that did not come to our attention until just now, because the other models, the long-range models that have a lower resolution for the most part, although the NAM is pretty low resolution, they haven't been picking up on this event. So I'm not saying that this is going to be, you know, this is going to happen. I'm just discussing the possibility because we are getting relatively close to this event. And this is, it still has this much amount of uncertainty. And, you know, we might not be as uncertain as most people think, but there is still the chance for some severe weather here. So this, as I said, will occur on Wednesday. So here's from Wednesday here, you have scattered showers and thunderstorms. That is not the risk here. The risk will be towards the afternoon into the evening. And so you see how thunderstorms start to become a bit more sporadic towards the late morning hours, the 10 o'clock, 11 o'clock hours into the afternoon. And there indeed is your severe weather. That could potentially happen. Let's move to the 12Z because it did not give me the correct frame of models. So yeah, 18Z, 21Z, massive widespread amount of severe storms here. This is the lower resolution model, so we can't actually tell if there is discrete cells that could form with the chance for tornadoes. But if I were to have an idea as to where the severe weather would be according to the NAM, it would be southern Tennessee into southeastern parts of Arkansas, northern parts of Louisiana, into northern and central parts of Mississippi, and including southern parts of Mississippi, as well as central to northern parts of Alabama, and maybe even extreme western parts of Georgia. Western parts of Georgia, if they were to get anything, very well could be straight line winds. But this is more towards the latter parts of the day, towards the evening, so you can't rule out the chance for a tornado according to the NAM. I would use the worst case scenario indicator. Well, actually, you know what? I will use the worst case scenario indicator here. This is the significant tornado parameter, which gives you the idea of what the chance for, or how significant tornadoes could form. So if it's on the lower end of the spectrum, then you can expect, you know, the chance for tornadoes, not super strong, not super significant, but still the chance for tornadoes. As it gets over into like the these bright pinks or even the dark pinks, more towards like this very ugly pinkish, whitish. Don't really know what color to call that, but once it gets into the higher spectrum, like towards the 5s, into the 6s, even up into the 10s, the 10s are really bad. That's when you can start to see some very significant very significant chance for tornadoes, not accounting as to what happens into the atmosphere. But the threat for severe weather here, if you go on to Wednesday, originally starts out as a 1 or a 2, and then as time moves along and through the day, it gets up to a 3 and a 4, and stays as a 3 and a 4 for the most part, into some places like Mississippi, Louisiana, and Alabama, to where this is definitely something that we're going to want to watch for. As I said, northern Louisiana, maybe even central into southern parts of Louisiana, Mississippi, and Alabama could be impacted. You also could get some discrete cells that could form off and could move into places like Florida. There's already, I heard there was a tornado. I think there was a tornado that happened after I live streamed, like an hour or two later, where it hit, I believe it was either Pensacola or Panama City. I think it was Panama City, and it caused some major damage. It was originally a water spout, and it moved off the coast. So that is definitely something that we're going to want to continue to watch as this event unfolds. But still some significant severe weather here that could be in play. All right, let's take a look at it from a perspective to where, well, moisture perspective, I should say. So the NAM is really saying that the dew points are really going to be high. In Louisiana, southern Mississippi, southern Alabama, you have some dew points that can get up into the 70s, which is extremely moist. Usually from 60s and above, that's what you're going to want to look for, so severe weather. 70s and above, you can see some significant storms, whether they're tornadic or not. But your blues indicate your 60s, 70s for your dew points here in some areas, and that is 100% really moist across this the deep south here. So your dew points are relatively intense. Your surface-based CAPE, which is the amount of energy in the atmosphere that will fuel thunderstorms. So convective available potential energy here, the measure of the buoyant force in the atmosphere between warm air rising and cold air sinking. So there's a lot of CAPE here. That's in the beginning of Tuesday. I can't exactly say that anything picks up from this CAPE. Storms form off of that, but there is the chance for some to form on Tuesday evening. Not a huge chance, but typically if you get CAPE over 2,000 joules per kilogram, you can anticipate some strong storms. From the yellows and above, that's 2,000 joules per kilogram and above. So you can see some of these even get into the reds. The reds actually go up to 3,000 joules per kilogram. So there is definitely some energy here according to the NAM model. But the only issue that I have with this event is that this is the only model that is picking up with this much moisture. So if I go quickly to the southeast and I take a look at, say, the dew points for the global forecasting system, the GFS model. If I go all the way over to Wednesday, you can see that Wednesday does have some strong dew points, but your dew points don't extend as far north as it typically does for the NAM. You know, I'll make a good comparison here between the NAM and the GFS. You can see the dew points, 60-degree dew points, extend all the way throughout northern parts of Mississippi into Alabama. This is 18Z, which is afternoon. And you can see the 70s extend all the way almost to Monroe, whereas the GFS doesn't extend as far north. So the moisture there is a bit lacking. And then you also have your Euro model right here. So I'm going to go to the regional spots, and we're going to take a look at the dew points as well. And the Euro actually says that the moisture doesn't extend as far north as the NAM says as well, although it extends further north than the GFS does. So the potential for some severe weather here is questionable. I think more or less if there was some severe weather on our hands, we'd have to really look at the wind shear and how that plays out, especially with how the wind shear for the most part is looking for the on a global scale. I'll actually take a look at it here We'll compare all the wind shear for the most part with this. So we'll go over here, continental, and we'll do 500 millibars, and everything's got 500 millibars. All right, so that's good. So one thing we're going to want to look for, this is a 500 millibar wind shear, which we're looking up relatively high up in the atmosphere, around 6 kilometers, give or take, maybe a little bit lower-ish or higher. Lower. So definitely a little bit lower than 6 kilometers, but still, we're going to be looking at the wind shear here. So here's the low pressure system that's been causing us a lot of havoc over the past 3 days. Your severe weather event stirred from that low pressure. It's over in Illinois and Indiana right now. Your severe weather is currently ongoing in Florida, but your wind shear, for the most part, is in the upward, near the 50s to maybe even the 60s in some spots, maybe almost into the 70s if it gets relatively narrow and channeled. But for the most part, that's your wind shear. Your low pressure system carries out that wind shear and moves on through into the Atlantic. Then you have your new low pressure system, which forms here with some strong wind shear just to the south of it, which that's typically where you're going to find your stronger wind shear for the most part. You also have another low pressure system, which is over Oregon, but your jet stream is pretty large here. It combines with the subtropical jet, which you can barely see, but this little kink right here, this area right within here, that's your subtropical jet region. And so your jet stream combines with your subtropical jet, and you have your low pressure system, which could create a boundary that extends all the way down. So as we play it out here, the NAM actually says that boundary gets amplified because of the low pressure system, as well as the preceding wind shear that is within the low pressure system that moves on through Oregon and Nevada. And so this is the reason why the threat for severe weather could be amplified in some of these areas that I have mentioned before. But the only issue is that the reason why the threat for severe weather isn't as significant is basically because of this little mini ridge here that is in place. So usually when you see this ridge, then you'll see a shortwave trough that could occur here within some of these storms. So if there's a bit more of a ridge, then yes, you could see some severe weather within these areas. But if there's not that much of a ridge, and we have to watch these black lines here as to how they curl around, then there isn't really a lot, the huge chance for some significant severe weather. So let's go over to the GFS. We'll take a look at the same exact thing. 500 millibars, this is its own model run. Your low pressure agrees. It moves off into the Atlantic. You have your low pressure system that moves off through here into Minnesota. You also have your other low pressure system that's over Oregon. Not as intense starting out to begin with, but as it continues to move on through into Wednesday, then you start to see your severe weather, your wind shear start to amplify. And the GFS actually says that the wind shear does start to amplify for the most part. But the only issue is that this ridge in place right here is not as significant. You can see a lot of these bars are pretty straight for the most part, except for when you start to get towards the mid-Atlantic and stuff like that, so when it starts to curl. But this low pressure system really does not sit in place, and this is one of those things where the severe weather for this event could either be relatively straight line or non-existent. So this is something that we're really going to want to watch as time moves on through. But that was the GFS. We'll take a look at the Euro now, and we got to look at all sorts of different models to try and come up with a consensus. We can't generally use one model unless if we have a pretty high confidence or all the models are saying the same exact thing. So let's take a look at the Euro because, you know, as I said, all the models are not saying the same exact thing. Here's Monday, Tuesday. Your low pressure system moves off into the Atlantic, as we had mentioned for the most part, and then you have your new low pressure system, which sits over, Illinois, Indiana, Michigan. And you have this this ridge right here. So this ridge is pretty strong for places near the northeast, but not as strong of a ridge, although you do have some ridging here across the coastline into the Gulf Stream, which is over in the Atlantic. But you still have some wind shear here on Wednesday. So this is definitely something that we're going to have to monitor. Obviously, the NAM shows a lot stronger wind shear. So I'll keep you guys updated here tomorrow morning on this potential chance for some severe weather. And if this does occur, then we may have something to indeed talk about in depth again across the board here, but still something that we're going to have to watch. All right, so now we're going to start to get into what I mentioned, some cooler temperatures that could be arising here for the most part in the United States. And we're in this kind of pattern right now to where there's a high pressure over Canada. That's the reason why most of the severe weather is kind of localized on the southern ends of the United States. So like Texas, Oklahoma, Arkansas, Louisiana, Mississippi, Alabama, Georgia, Florida, maybe sometimes into North Carolina and South Carolina. But that's the reason why we are very much so localized within some of these areas. We'll actually take a look, and you can see that here's your low pressure system that was moving on through. You have another low pressure system that just cut off the high pressure, but you can see how we have an extreme high pressure over here in Greenland, or near Greenland, so that can cause your blocking for some severe weather. But you also have your new high pressure that's going to be setting in on the northern parts of Canada. And so if there was going to be any low pressure systems that were going to move on through, they're going to most likely go through the southern parts of the country, create some more severe weather down there. So that's the type of pattern we're in, to where one low pressure moves on through. It takes a general span this time around 3 or 4 days before it actually starts to kick up again. And then we're in that calm pattern for the most part. But usually low pressure systems take 2 or 3 days. Now it's starting to be slowed for in the meantime, more or less because of all of these high pressure systems in Canada. So definitely something that I did want to make a note of for everyone real quickly before we discuss temperatures, because for the most part, with these low pressures that are coming from the northern parts of the U.S. as of right now, they will bring in some freezing temperatures for the most part. I mean, look at this. For the most part here in, the northern half of the country, this is the Thursday lows here. And some areas in the Midwest into the Ohio River Valley, as well as, the Northern Plains, Rockies in general, although the Rockies are typically cold. You guys get temperatures in the 40s in some spots. So this is definitely something that we're going to have to continue to watch for the most part. This is Thursday afternoon into the evening, and some temperatures still linger. I mean, look at this. Nebraska, Kansas, Oklahoma, even into places like Tennessee and Kentucky. You guys are in some really comfortable temperatures, in my opinion, although I am pretty weird. I do like a lot cooler temperatures than most people typically enjoy. But, 60s to 50s are in pretty good conditions. Now, 40s, a little bit more brisk, I will admit. So, if you guys are in like this kind of dark green for the most part, that's your 40s and 30s, maybe even into the upper 40s once you start to get into the yellows. And then your oranges, that's when you can start to get into the upper 50s into the 60s. That, in my opinion, is kind of comfortable. 70s is, decently comfortable, but you're starting to get pretty hot. But still, cool shot that'll come in through here, through the U.S., and then if we move on through to places like Friday, a lot more warmer temperatures across the board here. Midwest, start to see those 50s start to return into the Ozarks and the Ohio River Valley. 40s actually will mainly preside for the most part as highs. You still have your lows somewhat low for the most part. Before on Saturday, your temperatures actually start to get into the 50s and 60s for much of the United States. Actually, most of the United States actually is seeing that, except for the western coastline, the Pacific coastline here. that could get up into the 70s in some spots. But still, for the most part, the United States is in pretty comfortable temperatures. Although summer type weather is occurring in Florida as usual. You guys are the sunshine state for a reason, so you know you can still anticipate some very high temperatures. Miami could even get up into the 90s, maybe even into the mid 90s by the weekend. So definitely something to watch out here for the most part. Then on Sunday, 50s and 60s return to the Northeast as well as into the plains. So for the most part, if you live like from, just say, Alabama and further northwards, or the northern parts of Alabama, like Huntsville, into Tennessee and Missouri, as well as Kansas, Nebraska, all the way up into like the northern parts of North Carolina and Virginia northward, you guys can anticipate your temperatures to stay in, 50s, maybe 60s and below. Deep South's going to stay as usual with your warm temperatures in the 60s and 70s, maybe even 80s in some spots. Florida's going to Florida, so nothing really too much to report from there, but still something that I did want to bring to your all's attention, that temperatures most likely will be below average for the most part in some of these areas. Alrighty, that's mostly going to do it for my video here. As I said, if you guys do enjoy the content, or if you do want to help support me, please be sure to leave a like on the video. Leaving a like helps me a lot because it gets me onto YouTube's algorithm and shares my video with more people. So the more people we can get this information out to, the better. As I said, the potential for severe weather does exist on Wednesday, although it's not as recognized by multiple models as it typically usually would be. So that is still something that we're going to want to watch. The confidence in that isn't really all too high, according to some of these models, but the threat for severe weather does linger, so we're going to have to continue to watch it as time progresses. As I said, we will update you guys in the mornings. That's typically when I upload my videos. So if you guys, as I said, like the video, help me out a lot, as well as subscribe and turn on notifications, because I do videos like this every single day, particularly in the morning. Today's an exception to where it's towards the afternoon. And then I also do live streams. If you heard me in the beginning of my video, I was talking about how I live stream for 14 hours. I am that committed to getting you all the event here for, information from events for you all. So, if you guys would like to watch me with some more analysis in live events, please be sure to subscribe and turn on notifications as well. Share this video on social media. Follow me on social medias. All that would be in the link in the description down below. Also follow me on Twitch. That's also in the description down below, because I do video games. Viewer discretion is advised, because I am an adult and I do curse. So if you guys don't like that, don't follow me. On Twitch, I should say. Follow me on YouTube, please. So yeah, one final thing is I do want to thank our sponsors, and we do have a lot of them. We have 11. So thank you so much to Melissa Wallace, Ressa, Nightmare, Cryptomaria, Marie Hall, Back at the Ranch, Focus, The Real Necro, Tanner, Theresa, and Hockey Mama. That, you guys are absolutely amazing. I wouldn't be able to do this without you all. And even the people who donate into my live streams as well. I wouldn't be able to do these live streams without you all. And come to as high as we are without the support that I've gained. So, sponsors, thank you so much for keeping me up. So, that's going to be it for me. My name is Nate. I also go by Hockey Boy Nate. I'll catch you guys in the next video. Peace.